Avatar: The Legend of Korra. If there's one thing where it hit the nail on the head, it was in its antagonists. Each one with a spectacular motivation, with mostly good stories and incredible fights. But there is probably an antagonist that you have never seen, and that is perhaps the most powerful enemy that an Avatar has ever faced, and that is Hundam. In this video I am going to tell you about the possible most powerful antagonist that we saw in Avatar: The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra. So stay and don't forget to subscribe with the bell if you are interested in this type of content and to support the channel. Now if we start. At some point in the past, Hundam and his Siamese twin reigned in the physical realm, masters of the chaotic attack and possessors of colossal treasure. However, they faced an incarnation of the Avatar who seriously injured the Siamese, who would never recover, which is why they were forced to flee to the spiritual world. This tragedy filled Hundam with anger and resentment towards the Avatar, making revenge his sole purpose in life, as he searched for a way to cure his brother. After spending centuries searching for the secret of immortality, Hundam discovered a way to recover himself. He had to kill an Avatar by drawing chi from him, which would also grant him revenge. Despite this, the former king could not leave the spirit world since the spiritual portals were still closed, so he was locked up for hundreds of years, accumulating hatred against the Avatar and knowledge about this place. In the game, after the harmonic convergence where Avatar Korra opened the spiritual portals, Hundam entered the physical world after a millennium in exile. He immediately began recruiting followers who would help him destroy the Avatar. Using his powers, he enslaved a large number of spirits, turning them into Dark Ones. He also hired the Triple Threat Triad by paying them with treasures he had hidden in the mortal world during his lifetime, and allied himself with the Equalists, to whom he promised a new world order. However, despite his promises, he saw his new forces as nothing more than pawns, as he was planning to lead the world into chaos and discard them thereafter. During the game we have Korra with all her controls blocked and the streets of Republic City, the South Pole and the spiritual world full of chi blockers, dark spirits and members of the Triple Threat. Everything is very nice so far, but why could this man become the strongest enemy we saw in Avatar? To begin with, he is an excellent earthbender, with the ability to make enormous jumps, throw giant rocks, and have extremely fast mobility. Much faster than what we saw in Azula and Zuko's Agni Kai. His dexterity was such that he could lift a huge section of the ground with other large rocks of rubble around it above the ground and maintain his focus during the battle while using other earthbending techniques. Time for theories here. But during the story, Hundam mentions many times that he was king and accumulated great wealth. We know an Earth King who was quite crazy like this guy, who laughed at everything and who was an excellent earthbender. Could it be that he was a distant ancestor of someone we know? Well, I don't know how much sense this makes, but let's continue. Physically he is incredibly dangerous. One hit in the game can take you down more than half your life, and the power he has is something obscene. In addition, he has the ability to extend parts of his body, both his own and his brother's, and I will tell you about this a little later. In addition to this, he has colossal resistance, that is, Korra crushes him with a mountain-sized rock and he is still alive after this. In preparing him to take revenge on the Avatar, Hundam learned a lot about chi, about how to block it almost indefinitely and how to absorb it. In addition, we have its most powerful weapon, control of chaos energy or chaotic attack. Within his domain of chaos combined with a very powerful spirit control, Hundam has the ability to create pools of dark energy, to imbue spirits with dark energy very easily, and to even create snakes of this same energy from his hand. He is also capable of creating barriers that can only be broken with a particular element, impenetrable walls, lightning bolts that fall from the sky, not in the fire-bending style where the master creates them from his hand, but from a distance. In addition to powerful dark purple energy blasts, dark spirit energy swirls on the ground like traps. He is capable of disappearing and teleporting, as well as creating clones of himself. He also has the ability to invade people's minds, creating illusions that weaken the soul of others, as he wanted to do with Korra almost at the end of the game, as well as to communicate with them telepathically, or project his voice from distant places. While completely immersed in the chaotic attack, Hundam can produce a dark red and black aura and grow much taller and more muscular, dwarfing most humans, which greatly increases his physical prowess and allowed him to stretch and enlarge his arms' limbs at a considerable distance and size. Finally, in this state he can teleport without turning into a shadow, create physical clones of himself and summon lightning storms, heavy rain and dark clouds. All this makes him an unstoppable villain. Also, something curious is the symbol he wears on his hat, which I honestly always thought was the Red Lotus, but looking at it in more detail there are some differences. Could this have been one of the founders of the Red Lotus? And over time he changed his symbol? We do not know. The reality is that within the game the story of this antagonist is not as elaborate as in the series, but it would be excellent if they gave him more development in future series, movies or comics, because he is disgustingly powerful and his story has a lot of potential. Perhaps he would have been a better Vaatu wielder than an Alec. By the way, this villain to this day is considered canon. He appeared in the video game Avatar: The Legend of Korra for PC, and had the participation of creators Brian Konietzko and Michael Dante DiMartino in its development. If you liked the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We won't be watching next week with more videos. This is Appa Comics.